information about the presentation. I basically pick topics that are of interest to all of us. I have dealt with Parkinson's for the past 16 years. I'm 66 years old, so it was exactly at 50 that I got my diagnosis. And I'm living well with it, I have to say. I have not lost any of my functions, thank goodness. And I encourage you to keep up with your exercise. If you don't do anything else, keep moving. Keep on moving that body of yours. No matter how much pain you have, you can do it sitting down. You can do your arm exercises and stretching and neck exercises and whatever else you have been taught by your PT to do or your personal trainer. But you must keep moving because this disease will win if we stop moving. So just put it simply, keep moving, keep eating well, keep eating clean food, no refined food, no processed food. If you can at all, eliminate them. And sleeping is a crucial component of Parkinson's long and healthy life, if we can call it that, as healthy as it can be. So sleep, eat well, keep moving, and exercise. If you do these 4 things, you're going to have a good life. All right, today we're going to talk about nutrients, macronutrients, which are vitamins, and they're more specifically essential vitamins, as well as their nutritional value to us. Let me tell you what essential vitamins mean. There is a reason why I use that term, because I, as always, want to impart some of my knowledge to my audience so that you all become knowledgeable, so you can be empowered with that knowledge to take care of yourself for the long haul. Essential means that it is necessary by our body. It is necessary, but our bodies are not able to make them. So we call them essential vitamins or essential micronutrients. They are necessary by our body, but we cannot make them by ourselves. So what do we do endogenously? We cannot get, let's say, a piece of or a few pieces of our organs, let's say our liver, and make vitamin A or vitamin D. Well, even though we store them in the liver, but we cannot make them in the liver. So as a result, we have to get them from food sources. All right, so that's what we're going to focus on today. We're going to also talk about some of the deficiency symptoms of these vitamins. So if you do come across certain of these symptoms before your doctor does, you need to take notes immediately. And if they get to be really troublesome, if, for instance, if it's your legs or if it's your peripheral neuropathy that makes the tip of your fingers tingle and get cold at your extremities, you need to note that. And at your next appointment with your doctor, you need to bring that up. Hey, doc, since our last visit of 3 months ago, I'm having some signs of neuropathy in my fingertips or in my toes, because that could be a sign of something more severe. So don't make light of it. Always take notes, what date it started, when, where were you doing, and take it up with the doctor or the nurse. And if it is interfering with your daily life, like some, for instance, suddenly cannot sleep at all. Well, you cannot sleep more than a day because you start hallucinating and it starts affecting your brain, because as you know, the amyloid plaque that fills up our brain or brain of Parkinsonians, that happens to be activated in our sleep. So if you don't sleep, you're not activating those janitors that do the cleanup job of your brain in the middle of the night. So if you cannot all of a sudden sleep, and no matter what you do and what magnesium or melatonin or what have you, you have tried and nothing has worked, you need to call your doctor immediately, whether your PCP, primary care doctor, or your neurologist, preferably the neurologist, because they know most everything about you. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about the deficiency symptoms of some of these essential vitamins. And I will also talk about what the food sources are. So you can get started today, this evening, with some of these tidbits of information. Okay, we have two types of vitamins. Ones are fat soluble and the other ones are water soluble. Sorry, I have a dry mouth, so I have to keep drinking water. I hope you guys have water on hand too. All right, the fat soluble vitamins are A, D, as in David, E, and K. A, D, E, and K. There are four fat soluble vitamins. And these four fat soluble vitamins are essential because they each play a big role in functioning our body organs. And without the sufficient dosage or sufficient levels of these vitamins, essential vitamins, our bodies will not function optimally. So you cannot use your memory optimally. You can still remember the general concepts, but all of a sudden you have some big holes in your memory. You need to go back and look at your omega-3 fatty acid intake, and that comes from fish, seafood, sardines, and so on and so forth. So let's start with vitamin A. Vitamin A is for your eye health. Your eyes need vitamin A every day. It's not going to work if you just give it what it needs 5 days a week and then take off for 2 days. The body doesn't stop needing those essential vitamins just because you've decided not to go to shopping or you've gone a strike and not have any more carrots. Vitamin A's food source, the main food source is carrots and berries, any kind of berries, blackberry, blueberry, raspberry, strawberries, and carrots. And listen to this, one medium carrot will satisfy all, if not three-fourths of your daily allotment of vitamin A. Just one medium carrot. That's not a lot, right? I wish I could see some of you. You have turned on your video, so I don't see your beautiful faces and your nodding heads. So anyway, if you can, and if you'd like to join me, just turn on your video for a few seconds and nod your head. Vitamin A comes from mainly carrots and berries. You can get it everywhere else. You can get it from apricots, asparagus, beets, greens, and so on and so forth. Okay, thank you for turning on your video. I can see some more. All right, Howard. Good to see you. All right. So if you feel like you agree with me, please nod your head so that I know I'm making sense. All right, great. Butternut squash, cantaloupes, some eggs, fish liver. I remember being a child, I was a scrawny girl, and my mother was feeding me liver almost every other day, which was disgusting to me. As a child, you prefer to have ice cream and a little bit of other things. I wasn't junk food either. I wasn't having mac and cheese and things like that. But I didn't care for the liver bitter or the special taste that it had. So she was very creative and she decided to fry it for me and put like a dressing on it. So it was much better because I love dressing. I like the vinaigrette dressing and I like salad. So I just had it with that dressing, and I bet that saved my childhood because I was very scrawny and very underweight. And so I gave that example of how somebody, even as a child, can be turned on to something that's not on top of your tasteful list of foods, with just a creative sauce or dressing that you can make at home. You can even pour a little bit of vinegar or squeeze some lemon juice on fish liver or on the chicken liver. I mean, fish liver. I don't think I'm gonna have, but so all right. Prunes have vitamin A, and sweet potato. Oh, that's my favorite of all vitamin A sources. You can have sweet potatoes semi-baked, semi-roasted in bags, in freezer bags, and you can put it in the cookie sheet on the top shelf of your oven at 250 for about 15 minutes, and you have yourself some good source of vitamin A, and it's tasty, and you have that with your roasted chicken or pork or fish or whatever else is your main source of protein, and you've got yourself with a bowl of salad, and you've got yourself a complete meal, right? Sweet potato. Who likes sweet potato? Larry? Howard? Yes, and Barbara. Good. And Stevens. Okay, great, great. Awesome, awesome. You don't like it, Matt? No? Is that what that means? Have you had it the way I just described it in the oven? They're waffle fries made out of sweet potato. They sell them at Super Target. They sell them at Kroger. A big bag of it. The brand name is Alexia. 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 And that lasts you for about a week, and it's cheap, it's nutritious, and it's tasty. All right, moving right along. What are the deficiency symptoms of vitamin E? There are acne, allergies, anorexia. This is for younger people who decide to quit eating, but it can happen to all elderly too, but very rarely. Appetite loss is a sure sign of vitamin E deficiency. Blindness, dry hair, uh, itching and burning eyes. That's an important deficiency symptom. A lot of people come to me and they say, why are my eyes itchy? I have to, of course, rule out the possibility of airborne allergies or food allergies because those can play a part in it. But more importantly, pay attention to what you eat daily or don't eat. If you haven't liked sources of vitamin A that I mentioned, well, then you have to get it in a supplement form. Supplement A is very, very predominantly available at most vitamin sections of your grocery store. So just buy yourself about a vitamin A that contains 100% of your daily recommended allowance, and that is not a lot because we don't want you to get toxic. So the recommended daily allowance is about of vitamin A is about 4,000 IU. Of course, that depends on your age, your height, your weight. Because somebody like me who's barely 5'2" and 100 pounds has to have a lot less than Howard here, who is probably how tall are you, Howard? Almost 6 foot. Oh, your audio is off. That's okay. That's okay. You're much taller than me. Let's say it that way. You're much taller than me. And for people who have a bigger bone structure, they also need to take that into account, that they need to up the dosage of their vitamins. And to get the right dosage, you can always consult a registered dietitian, a nutritionist who specializes in this, or your doctor, or your chiropractor. All of these people have to be educated and should help you. Or sometimes the clerks at your health food store. At Sprouts, I have seen some very educated clerks who were spending time with me and finding the right dosage for my needs. All right. So these are night blindness is another sign of deficiency of A. All right. Rough, dry skin is another deficiency symptom. All right. Moving right along. Let me tell you something about vitamin A that you will remember forever. Vitamin A is related also to bone pain. If you don't have enough of it in your system, your bones start having this diffuse pain, ache, and out of the blue, you feel like by putting your foot down on the ground, which you have done all your life, suddenly your foot starts hurting, or your bones on top of your feet start hurting. So pay attention to that. If you have glaucoma, you need to talk to your ophthalmologist about what dosage of vitamin A is appropriate for you. I have narrow angle glaucoma that I accidentally discovered. They were about to dilate my eye, and I would have gone blind if the lovely, knowledgeable technician had not seen that I had a narrow angle glaucoma that was giving rise to the eye pressure behind my eye. If they had dilated my eye, which puts more pressure in the back of your eye so they can see if there's any eye disease, and without paying attention to my glaucoma, I would have gone blind in 24 hours. So these are serious stuff that I'm talking about. These are true information that you can turn into life-saving knowledge. And I'm sharing that with you because I love my community and I want them to be at their peak of health. So that's what all I wanted to add. And also vitamin A, the right dosage of it would help you lower your cholesterol, bad cholesterol. So in my opinion, anybody who does not have those things that I mentioned, the glaucoma and maybe too much of a hypercholesterolemia, they need to take about 4,000 IU. I'm sorry. Okay, I thought I heard somebody. All right. I personally take 10,000 because but mine is mostly from food sources, from carrots and berries. All right, let's move on to vitamin D, as in David. Vitamin D is the sunshine vitamin because it's supposed to be made by our body, by our cells that are around the bones. If you are only exposed to sunlight between 10 o'clock and 3 o'clock, 10 a.m. to 3 p.m., which is the time when we're usually indoors, and children and young people are at school or adults are at work, and the rest of us are in the house, living our lives. But what is important for you to remember is if you slather on this sunblock and go walking at let's say 7 o'clock p.m. or 6 p.m., you're not going to get hardly any vitamin D made. It has to be done between 10 a.m. and 3 p.m. without sunblock or sunscreen, and try to leave go with a short sleeve shirt or sleeveless shirt so that your arms at least get the sunlight. All right. So other than that, you can get vitamin D from fish, from sardines, so from fish liver oil, like cod liver oil, which is another nasty tasting oil, but you don't have to bear the taste. You can simply buy it in a capsule and just pop a capsule. And the dosage, the regular dosage that I follow is 4,000 IU. Let me tell you about COVID and vitamin D. We all went through 2020 COVID, right? And we all remember how many people lost their lives innocently. Dr. Fauci, along with a lot of doctors across the world who are scientists who make their recommendation based on science, he even agreed that vitamin D, they didn't recommend it because they're not in the business of recommending vitamin dosages, but they did nonetheless corner some of these doctors I remember during COVID and said, if there was one vitamin that you would recommend that would give us protection against COVID, what would that be? And they all uniformly said vitamin D, and they all seem to have a general consensus that 4,000 IU, 4,000 IU of vitamin D was sufficient to protect all of us from serious health effects of the COVID. And sure enough, I did not catch COVID during all those years. I did not until a year and a half ago, when somebody who had COVID came and kissed me right on the cheek, my family members. And unfortunately, by the time I found out, it was too late. And they did not even know they had it. So they were a carrier, but they did not have overt symptoms. But that was all right. I did not have very bad symptoms. I just decided to rest and take care of myself. And I doubled up on my D. I did not take any of the remedies, antivirals, but I took care of myself, a lot of liquids, and doubled up the D. I had actually more than double, 10,000 IU for about a week. But I don't recommend that you run and get 10,000 IU every day. I did not say that. I was saying to combat COVID, to boost my immunity, I did that temporarily for about a week. But that is not a toxic level anyway. The toxic levels for D is 100,000 and above for a long period of time. But still, I'm a super conservative nutritionist. I care for all of you to be happy and healthy. So I'm not going to jeopardize your health by saying this is the guideline when it's not. There is no guideline per se. But the general consensus, scientific community has a general consensus that if everyone had for good measure, had 4,000 IU of of D or D3. D3 is the specific form of D that you want to ask for. Not D1, not D2, but D3. Every day, that would represent a good safe level for all of you. Okay? But if you choose to have it from food sources and not have any supplement, that's perfectly fine. Egg yolks, have them. Fish liver oil, as I mentioned, cod liver, and cod liver oil has it. Those are the most concentrated form of vitamin D. Sardines, if you can find one that tastes good. And sunlight, of course, which I told you, the recommendation is about 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. for 30 minutes. And you can do it, you can get away by doing it maybe twice a week at that rate. And you'll have enough vitamin D in your skin. Okay, what are the deficiency symptoms of D? Bone pain, osteopenia, osteoporosis, muscle pain, muscle weakness, more tremor than usual, than let's say somebody who has it maybe once a week or once every other week. Nervous system sensitivity, that means you get to be noise sensitive and light sensitive. Gait, gait imbalance. Excuse me. Heart disease, some forms of heart disease, predisposition to stroke, kidney disease. Those could stem from deficiencies of vitamin D. Of course, a little bit won't bother you and won't cause you to have a stroke, but a lot of deficiency or not having any oil because you don't care for the taste of fish or their oily skin or what have you. Salmon. Salmon is a good source as well. I see a lot more people these days have salmon than they were 10 years ago. So a severe deficiency over a prolonged period of time can lead to a case, a condition such as a serious condition, such as nervous system malfunctioning, or you falls. If you have had any falls and it keeps repeating itself and you're not at an age where you should have any falls, nobody, in my opinion, has to have falls. If they can only learn to walk properly, heel to toes, we not shuffle like I used to do because I wasn't properly educated about how to walk. And now I just put my heels down first and then go to the toes and lift up the heel and go down to the toes. If you learn to do that and master that, you're probably going to keep your balance better than if you were to shuffle or turn around real quick, which I did a long time ago, not too long ago, about 6 months ago, no less than that, about 4 months ago, and I cracked 3 ribs. Yes, I cracked 3 of my ribs by just hastily going from one side of the kitchen to the other, and I didn't even fall. I just, because I saw myself losing my balance, I just grabbed onto my marble countertop, which squeezed my squeezed my rib cage. So let me tell you, I gave birth to 2 children, and this was a worse pain than the delivery of those 2 children. I'm telling you, it is not a fun thing. So I'm telling you that to emphasize how important it is for us to walk slowly and take our steps very gently and slowly and be aware. If somebody is talking to you and somebody is pointing something at you, to you, don't look at them unless you're in a sturdy position, in a stable position. Or better yet, sit down and answer them. Because if you are distracted and you're at a greater risk of fall, that's going to come with a lot of pain and agony. Okay, moving right along. The dosage. Did I tell you the dosage of D? I don't think I did. No.
Those.
Yes, I did.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay, thank you, Carmen.
4,000.
Yes, that's right. Good job. I love people who listen. All right, let's move on to vitamin E. Vitamin E, there is no set number really for vitamin D. For one thing, you need to know this. If you're buying vitamin E separately, you need to buy this. Next to vitamin E on the label, it must say D as in David, alpha tocopherol. D as in David, alpha tocopherol, tocopherol, not DL. DL is a synthetic and junky form. D alone is the good one, the natural form. D alpha tocopherol. If you go up to your clerk in the vitamin section of any grocery store, they will take you to the right bottle. But not all of them are D. They have DL because they're cheaper to make. So they usually resort to that and they charge us the same amount of money.
And Faye, are there any
Yes.
particular brands of vitamins that you would recommend? I know you
You know
can't.
my, yes, you
Yeah.
know my Slisha. I try not to because I'm not a merchant, but what I will do is I'll name you a few that are on top of the list of the better kind of manufacturers. Nature's Made is not bad. Uh, there is a, there is a Nature's Made. Oh, Thorn, Thorn is a good brand. Pure, Pure, is a good brand. Uh, SFI, SFI, S as in Sam, F as in Faye, SFI is a good brand. Some of these are available on Amazon and some aren't. So you just have to look for the best. Now, NOW, I was looking for that. NOW now is a good brand and it's very inexpensive and it's available at every grocery store. Okay, so moving on to vitamin E. What are the deficiency symptoms? Your gut and your intestines get sensitive. Muscular wasting and muscular weakness is a big deficiency symptom of vitamin E. Dry, dull, and losing hair. If you have dry hair, dull color or shine, and losing it by the handful, I see everybody is looking probably in the mirror or will be after the talk. And that's what I want you to do. You have to know what it is that you're really looking for. They must be dull, thin, and dry and falling. Your skin gets dry as well, but that can be because of the weather or because of your dehydration. I want to tell you guys, I cannot tell you how many people come from our community to get some help from me who are absolutely beyond measure dehydrated. I had a gentleman who is 59, bless his heart, he's had Parkinson for 9 years. So since 50, when I was diagnosed too. And he was very dry. His mouth was dry. He kept on stopping and getting a sip of his bottled water. And I said, so and so, how much water do you consume in a day? He said, a cup and a half. A cup and a half. That's a cup, and I have about 12 of these a day. He said, 1 cup and a half. As I'm talking, Howard is going for his water. Good job, Howard. But you need to pay attention to that because if you are constipated, if you have dry mouth, if you have fallen too frequently, if you have vertigo, if you have dizziness, if you have dry hair, if you have dry skin, if your nails crack, all of those are due to dehydration. Isn't that amazing? We wouldn't normally think of it as a sign of dehydration, right? We run to the dermatologist. Oh, doc, can you give me something for my hair? I'm losing hair. When you can probably easily and cheaply remedy it by just adding a few cups of water in your regimen. At least 50% of the people who come to me at my clinic have severe dehydration. Do you know that dehydration causes your brain to shrink and it welcomes dementia?
Faye, I have
Yes,
a
you have heard.
question.
Yes, ma'am.
So I was actually just at a doctor's appointment this morning, and
Yes.
the cardiologist was actually talking about the importance of coconut water and even pickle juice for folks that really might like a very strong flavor,
Uh,
as for people who don't tend to drink very much water, that coconut water and pickle juice can be good substitutes. Can you talk to the value or uh, I mean, what is it that makes these types of water particularly better? Do they have more electrolytes in them?
well, coconut water is just for the taste and the fact that it has a little bit of omega-3. So it is the flesh of coconut imparts a little bit of the good oil. It's a medium chain fatty acid type of oil that does not push your cholesterol up. So, and it has a tropical flavor. So for people who like to have, we care for that little tropical taste, that is fine. I think that's probably where he was coming from because it does not have any more mineral than regular water.
Okay.
But pickle juice is sour, and I don't like to recommend that to people, especially to people like me in their senior years, because it shoots your blood pressure way up. It is filled with salt, filled with salt. That's why it's tasty. That's why they put only one or two slices on our sandwiches. Otherwise, we would be grossed out. But it has more sodium. It doesn't have necessarily more minerals, but sodium is one that is high up. And I don't know about you, but I sure don't want to add hypertension to the list of my ills.
Right. And he was definitely referring to pickle juice as a liquid that could help raise sodium. He was actually talking about someone who's
Yes,
low sodium.
yes,
Um,
yes, yes, yes. That's a valid recommendation. But you need to also be careful not to have the whole jar of pickle juice because the amount matters. Remember,
got
the
it.
dosage matters. The devil is in the details, Disha. And a lot of people, again, from age 6 of age, because I started out being a pediatric nutritionist, I started seeing people bring their children at the age of even younger than that, 4, all the way up to 97 is my oldest client. And no one has to have, in my opinion, pickle juice because of the risks of going overboard. If you're talking about maybe a sip of it that you pour out, to bring up your blood pressure, I would say maybe. But then is somebody watching you when you're doing that? You may have a sip and find it tasty, and you might have a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more, thinking of the doctor who's recommended that to you, but not knowing that the poor doctor did not say finish up the whole jar of pickle juice. You know, you need to be careful about the dosage.
Very, very good point. Thank you for
Sure,
clarifying.
sure, sure. Okay, moving right along. Food sources of vitamin E are almonds, asparagus, brown rice. Look what I found today at the store. That's a Trader Joe's. You find this organic brown rice, penne pasta. It has only one ingredient in it. I love these foods that are one ingredient tall, and that is brown rice. And it's under $4, and it's made in 5 to 7 minutes if you like it al dente. Or if you'd like to save even more money, you go to Aldi and buy this wonderful fusilli shaped brown rice and quinoa pasta that is made also in 5 to 7 minutes for under $4. And this box would last a family of two probably for a week. $4, guys, for a week. You have a good pasta that's a good source of vitamin E that is also good in fiber because this was brown. It has 4 grams of fiber per cup and a half. I mean, that's not a huge amount, but still better than nothing, better than zero fiber. All right. Uh, moving right along, green veggies have vitamin E in them, nuts, and asparagus, in case I didn't mention that. The amount of vitamin E that I recommend is really low on the low side, is 100 to 200 IU, just because I don't want people to overdo it and get overzealous. But that's what I do, and the rest of it we get from the oils that we use. All right, vitamin K is a coagulating vitamin. It's a coagulator, so that means if your blood cells don't clump up and form platelets to keep you from bleeding to death, then you don't have enough vitamin K. You need to have, few people need to add vitamin K because vitamin K, you need only a little bit of it, and it's found in lettuce, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, spinach, kale, these kinds of green veggies. Swiss chard is the highest source of vitamin K. Now, if you are on Coumadin as a blood thinner, or your doctor put you on Plavix, or any of these blood thinners, and you happen to want to have a big kale salad, is that okay? No, it's not. You can interfere with the effectiveness of that Coumadin or your Plavix or any other blood thinner that the doctor has recommended to you. All right, so don't go negating the doctor's order. If you are on a blood thinning medication, do not have kale or chard or lettuce, which is not going to make you unhappy, I know, because usually we have to drag people to the restaurant and say, try this salad, it's really good. So I always like salad because I grew up on it. But for just the period that you are on those blood thinners, try to stay away from the greens. Okay. All right, moving along. We covered all the fat soluble vitamins. Now let me quickly talk about B vitamins because they're very essential, and then I'll talk about C, and then we'll answer questions because we're 6 minutes away from reaching my time. B12 is one of the most robust and well-researched vitamins in the world of Parkinson. You need to have extra B12 if you're not having eggs, fish, and dairy, guys. Eggs, fish, and dairy, and liver, beef liver. Eggs, fish, beef. I forgot the beef. You have to have the beef. Egg, fish, because I don't have beef, I automatically put it out of my list. Egg, beef, fish, and dairy are the 4 sources of B12. If you are vegetarian, you're not getting any B12. Brewer's yeast is your only other source. If you're a true vegan, you're not going to get any B12. And that's why vegans have a higher propensity to have neuronal toxicity and dementia. They have seen. If you haven't read about it, you need to look it up online at the Google University. You can pretty much pop in, is cognitive decline or dementia uh, ex exacerbated with the lack of vitamin B12, and you'll see the answer. So try to have at least a minimum of 500 microgram to 1,000 microgram of B12. I have 1,000 because I was severely deficient in B12 when I was diagnosed with Parkinson's. And you know what? One of the symptoms that I saw that pulled me to the side thinking that I might have severe B12 deficiency and not anything else. I did not know about the symptoms of Parkinson at the time because I was 50. I was too young to know it, or I didn't have anyone in the family. But I was having a foot draw. My foot was going like this, dropping. The tip of my foot would drop. And so I couldn't drive properly. And that is, if you look it up at Google University, you're going to find out, or ChatGPT, or whatever your source of information is. That is a sure sign of severe B12 deficiency. So I could have had this whole thing with Parkinson could have been exacerbated by my having deficiency of B12. Whether I could have avoided being diagnosed with Parkinson or not, had I fixed that B12 deficiency earlier, let's say 10 years earlier, that's all remained to be seen. I guess I would never know. But vitamin B12 is critical to prevent dementia or slow down the progression of this disease. I'm not going to promise the things that people promise and I get mad at them. I say, don't give people high hope when you have no fact in your hand that this is going to happen. Because we hold on to hope, don't we? We're all desperate to get better. If you are, don't feel bad about agreeing with me. That's just the nature of us. We want to survive. So don't believe any miracle cures. There are so many people out there saying, oh, if you just have my potion, you're going to start reversing your Parkinson. That is not good, not fair to us because they don't have any. And then you ask for proof. They say, well, we don't have any proof. But sure enough, certain people have come back with some changes in the positive direction. That is different from finding a cure. That is no cure. And nobody that I know has ever been able to reverse Parkinson with facts and science that I could verify. All right. Um, you need to test for B12 deficiency. That I'm adamant about. Remember, I never said test for A or test for the D. Your doctors, your PCPs always test as part of your routine annual exam. That has been an accepted fact by the medical community, and they have, thank goodness, implemented it. Most doctors don't even ask you; they just run a D deficiency test. But B12 they don't do. You need to know what your true B12 level is. Listen to this. Even the patients of mine who had normal levels of B12 still were deficient in B12 because of their other comorbidities, other conditions. There are conditions that eat away at your B12. And the higher your B12 is, the lower your homocysteine, which is a toxic form of amino acid. The lower your B12, which was the case of very many people who came to me, and me included, the lower your B12, the higher your toxic homocysteine level, which can cause cardiovascular disease. So you need to keep an eye on this B12 and don't lose track of where it's at. It needs to be higher than normal, not excessively higher, but slightly higher, but not lower. Because if it drops low, that means that your homocysteine is gaining some speed over it. And that means you're looking at stroke and blood and cardiovascular disease and risk of heart attacks. This is not a joke. You need to test for your B12 levels, and your doctor will tell you what the safe range is. All right, moving right along. I like to talk briefly about B1 because it has gotten a lot of press online at the Google University and so on. I'm not crazy about B1 lovers because uh, the information that is out there has not been scientifically based. It is observational. I'm not knocking the good people with good intentions who want to help us, who have seen some improvement in tremors and in motor and non-motor symptoms. But I don't want to give you false hopes either. All right. Lisha, I'm at 250. Did you want to start asking the questions and all?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. Let me we've got a couple in the some really good questions in the in our chat. So let me start with those and then I'm happy
Yes.
to open it up for any
Yeah.
other additional questions.
Yes, ma'am.
So you talked a little bit about brands in terms of which ones you personally prefer, but you've definitely kind of hit on some of the different options for brands that can be used. One of the
Yes.
other questions is actually about some other supplements. So the supplements that have been asked are about tyrosine, trimethylglycine, and
Yeah.
phenylalanine.
Phenylalanine, yes.
Yes, and choline. So,
Yes.
so this person actually took a couple of these for a few weeks, but then read some articles explaining that really someone shouldn't be taking these particular supplements while taking carbidopa levodopa. So I don't know if
Yeah.
that's something
This
you
is
can
a
talk. I know that's a lot of
that
supplement.
is that is all of these individual supplements, in my opinion, are not necessarily proven to be linked to any major and measurable gains in terms of Parkinson gains or having neuroprotective effect. Choline, for instance, is a good amino acid, and it's going to be helpful in some people's cases in giving the muscles a little bit of a stimulation. So some people have gained some memory benefits and so on, but there is no consistent, stable result across the board that I could rely on and say, yes, go to this store and this is the brand and this is the dosage and you'll feel this way.
Mhm.
You need to have the benefit of the scientific testing is that you can get the same results by doing the same test, but you can't. Tyrosine is a precursor of a dopamine. And so some people hope that by having gobs and gobs of tyrosine, they're suddenly going to have a surge of dopamine in the brain. That is the farthest thing from the truth. So I would not touch anything like that. Now, there are anti-inflammatory vitamins such as vitamin D that we talked about. That's why it lowers the bone pain and the falls go down and the gait balance comes back up. And vitamin E also is anti-inflammatory. And so some of these vitamins are going to have that effect, that positive effect, but not in any large amount and not every day. For instance, I have vitamin B9 or folate. A lot of people ask about folate because folate
My phone
is helpful
is over
in,
between.
in people with depression and non-motor symptoms. And also beyond the world of Parkinson, folate is helpful in just boosting your immunity and so on. B12 is another helpful B. So I found a pill that's this tiny, that's chewable, and I have that under my tongue once a day. It has both B12 at the right amount, 1,000 microgram, and B9 or folate in the right form. By the way, L-methylfolate is the only form of folate that is absorbed through the brain-blood barrier, not folic acid, but L-methylfolate. L-methylfolate. If you want to, you can shoot an email or you can go on the Google and they will give you the right spelling. Methyl is methyl and folate. That's the only form that crosses the brain-blood barrier. The rest you're tossing your money in the toilet. But this one has got double acting B12 and folate. So the answer to that question, Lisha, is no, I'm not a proponent of these individual vitamins or what have supplements.
That's very helpful. What
Mhm.
about, we've got another question about turmeric and specifically turmeric tea that a lot of us I know have heard about taking turmeric to help with joint pain. Do you have
Yeah.
any suggestions or recommendations?
Oh, see, there's a vast difference between turmeric brand, dear heart. If you can find turmeric, which you can, it's at Costco, for God's sake. It's at Kroger. It's at Walmart. Just get the right turmeric powder that comes from the earth. No, no tarnished anything. No polishing it. No. bleaching or anything. I cook with turmeric at least twice a week. Add it to your pasta, add it to your rice, add it to your veggies. Just sprinkle it like you are sprinkling salt.
Is there
And that will do.
anything in particular that people should look for to know if they're really getting the right turmeric?
There are some, but to be honest with you, that's not my area of specialty. I would rather defer to a person from India or Far East who cooks with it day in and day out. I have cooked with it since I was 20 and I have no joint pain. I didn't do it for that reason, it's because it tastes good. But it also has a double whammy of having a good benefit, they say, about inflammation. So I'm doing it that way, and I'm not running the risk of toxicity because I'm not having gobs and gobs of it. This is what I am cautioning you all about. You all are my family. Don't forget, I am dealing with the same issue as you are. I'm not just somebody who's an opportunist who's joining in the group to make some money. I don't want to even expand my practice because my joy is in coming to DAPS and doing this for free. If I could, I would do it for the rest of my life, 24 hours a day. And I want you to know if you go trusting, let's say, one of these vitamin companies, and you buy one that says, oh, we are making the best quality turmeric, and it comes from curcumin from this part of India, try this at this amount. That's dangerous, guys, because my level of safety in terms of dosage is way different than we talked about. A man who is 6 foot tall, 220 pounds, with a big bone structure. And that's somebody came to my office and was having these huge, huge, like welts, all these red spots all over his body. I said, what happened to you? What did you do? This is a sure sign of a food allergy. He said, well, nothing that I can think of. Oh, come to think of it, one of my wife's friends recommended curcumin for my joint pain. So I said, if a little bit is good, more should be better. So he put like 1 tablespoon on his vegetables. He had a severe reaction. So this is why I'm so cautious, guys. You
Mhm.
need to read the labels. And when it comes to these type of natural things, buy them in the natural form that they come in. Mother Nature didn't intend for us to squeeze and pulverize curcumin and put it in a turmeric fashion in a jar, plastic jar that probably adds a bunch of microplastic to our turmeric before we have it. So just go buy the curcumin or the turmeric powder from an Indian store that gets it from a natural producer and enjoy it by adding it to your diet. That's what I would do. You do what you like.
Good points. We've got another question. Let me see here. Um, oh, about the sorry, just a second here.
Oh, that's okay.
Oh, the B12 and the folate supplement that you
Yeah,
showed.
yeah.
Without endorsing the brand, would you happen to share one of the options of brands?
Yes. Yes, it's Claire Lab, Klaire, Claire Lab. Lab is short for laboratory, LAB. So if you go on Amazon, you should be able to find it.
Okay.
It's a chewable form, okay? It's a lozenge. You just put it under your tongue, just like I did right now, and it melts away. Right now, it's in my mouth, and I can talk. It's that tiny.
Okay.
See, it's right there.
Mhm.
That's a tiny dot, but it's starting to dissolve right now, and it gives you a boost of energy from the B12, and it's at the right amount. And I have it only twice a week, 3 times a week. Nothing too harsh.
Okay. Well, we are right at the top of the hour. We can take one more question. If anyone has another comment or question for Faye, you can either use your raise your hand, or you can use the chat feature, or since we're at the end of our time, if you'd like to unmute and ask a question, please feel free to do so.
Just a comment about insomnia, which became part of my Parkinson's issue. 400 units of magnesium solved that, where Melatonin didn't even budget.
Yes, that's a great mineral.
So I can sleep till 6 or 7 now instead of 3 or 4.
Great job. That's one of the best minerals for sleep. Good job for finding it.
Mm.
And I bet you have noticed that you go to the bathroom a little bit easier too for number 2.
Magnesium.
It hasn't totally solved that problem, but it's working on it.
Yes, I know. I know. If you add 2 cups of fresh veggies to your salad every day, you're not going to have any more problem. And water,
Yeah,
water.
yeah.
Yes, sir. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. Any other comments or questions before we log off and I stop recording? All right. Well, I thank each and every one of you for joining us for our very popular Ask the Nutritionist. Our next session will be in December, and that is always on the second Friday at 2 o'clock via Zoom. So we will definitely be sending that information out so that you can join us again in December. And as always, if you've got any particular subjects or topics that you would like for Faye to address or cover, please let us know so we can pass that on to her. Faye, as always, thank you so much. You enlighten us, inspire us, and educate us on so many different facets when it comes to nutrition and Parkinson's. So we very much appreciate you. And as I mentioned, we're recording this, so I'll stop the recording and be sure to share that with everyone.
Bye, everybody.
Thank
All
you.
right.
Thank you. Sure, my pleasure. See you next time.
Thank you.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you.
Really.